Hey everybody, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today we're going to paint that wonderful scene of a snowy mountain at sunset over a lake. So all the things for winter landscape. This is going to be a step-by-step landscape painting class. I want to welcome all our new viewers. John, my husband John, is on the mic.
Hello.
He helps me bring these shows to you, and we both want to welcome all the new viewers. We had a lot of new people come into the channel. And we want to welcome you. If you're wondering what this is where I show you how to paint that painting that you shared. And I think you will be very surprised at how easy it is if you guys are returning. It's so good to see you again. We're on the weekend, so we're going to be painting on a 16 by 20 canvas. We're going to go big and substantial, John.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that big, but it's big. It's big for YouTube. And we're going to have a really good time doing it. I think it's going to be easier than you think. If you hadn't checked out the time lapse and you want to get kind of a sneak peek of what's involved, those are the pre-paints that I'm doing. The studies before the show gives you an idea of what I'm thinking. What's going on in my mind?
What you thinking?
What are you thinking? And you've got materials lists happening, and our old intro is back. I think all those things are pretty wonderful. We got some old, we got some new. It's like we're getting married. I see some blue in the background. We're all about it.
You know what? I think we should skip the wedding part, skip to the honeymoon, and just go to Hawaii.
I like this plan. I'm into this plan. Let's just go to Hawaii.
Actually, if we could elope to Ireland, get married there, then go to the other island for the...
Just island hop?
Island hop.
Island hop. Can we skip the wedding because the wedding is upsetting? Can we just go to the dinner party?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're going to have a dinner party. You're
dinner party
invited in Ireland, and then we're going to go over to Hawaii. You're invited too.
We might stop on Brittany and do a little tour over there.
Does that sound nice? You thought you were showing up for an art lesson, you got invited on a world tour. All right, so today we have a 16 by 20 surface. It's going to make us a really beautiful landscape. And the big tip on this is to size up your brushes. Bigger brushes will make this job easier. If you have smaller brushes, just calculate a little more time into your painting process. To start, the colors are going to be ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, cad red medium, quinacridone magenta. This is Naples yellow light, also called tight knit yellow. And this is cad red medium and titanium white. So those are that. We're going to be beginning with the big cutter brushes. If you're wondering what that weird thing was in the materials list, this is a Dritz Taylor's chalk tool. It's just drawing chalk.
Gotcha.
Just lets me draw. It's fancy, isn't it? Make sure we've got our coffee. Do you have your coffee?
No, it's on the other desk.
Did you not get your coffee?
It's on the desk.
They have their coffee. Everybody throw up your coffee emojis if you're here for live chat and tell John he's supposed to have his coffee. If you're wondering why my world is shaking all the time, if the camera is on, don't make it bounce more. You're going to make people sick at home. There's John getting his camera's just having a heart attack there.
I dropped my mic and had to go get the coffee.
So I want you to take whatever idea you have about painting landscape, if you have any fear or concern, and I want you just to put it aside for a moment. We can always touchstone back to it later, but put it aside. And I'm going to say that because whatever your worries are, your fears aren't facts, right? And you're not really going to know what your challenges are until you get into the painting, and fear won't help you overcome those challenges. So if you can, take a deep breath, release it. Your landscape is going to be good enough, and you're going to be good enough today, and everything's going to be okay. If you're wondering what I'm saying is I read all my comments. So when you guys say, I really love it, but I'm terrified of landscapes, I'm speaking to you. And just so you know, I read your comments, and I'm listening. You ready to do a step one?
I am. I'm
all of these videos in 2021 are bookmarked with stamps that are time-stamped, and they match a mini book that we put out 7 days after. We've done steps before, but this year is different because they're time-stamped and have a matching mini book.
Mini book.
Mini book. And that's why we started them up again, is so we could start releasing the mini books. So there we go.
Now I got my coffee.
You got your coffee?
Yep.
We're going to use something called a cutter. You saw this in the infogram. They can come in a 2-inch. I've got a 1.5 inch, and I've got a 1 inch, and these are just hog bristle. They kind of look like paint brushes that you might see on a house, right?
Yep.
Not too bad. I'm going to pre-mist my surface, and I'm going to pull down my splatter shield.
Yeah. Get that pulled down there.
All right. Now I have some sky that's up here, and I have some lake that's down here, and I will want to paint them in similar times. So I'm going to take a round brush. This happens to be a number 8 synthetic black pearl round. I'm going to just grab this round brush just real fast, and I'm going to take a little bit of my blue, and I'm going to kind of give myself a little guide. Just saying, do, 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 do. And notice I'm doing it super light.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want this to be dark. I want this to be very washy and light. And I just want to know that up here is sky and down here is lake. And the reason for that is if I've got clouds or color that's coming in this direction,
mm-hmm.
the lake's going to have them coming in the opposing direction. You guys see those little arrows?
Yes.
So that's what's going to be happening there. And by putting that little mental line in, and again, I don't want it to be dark. I'm just trying to give myself a little mental line. And I'm not trying to make dark. You don't have to make arrows, guys. I'm just letting you see what's going on. So if the line goes like that, this line goes like that. And that's the thing to keep in mind when you're painting sky and lake, when you're painting reflections. If you did Acrylic April with me this year, which is a 30-day painting course where we met every single day and worked on landscape with water, you're very familiar with this technique. You know it so well. You're like, oh, good. Water is a mirror. Sky is clouds or lake water in the sky. All right. I'm going to take my 1.5 inch cutter because that's just a nice size. I'm going to get it mildly damp. I'm going to keep a towel with me the whole time so that I can make sure I'm controlling the amount of water in my brush. And I'm going to start with a little bit of white. I'm going to come here on the left-hand side, brushing back and forth. A little bit of white. Then I'm going to get a little of my Naples Yellow Light. If you don't have the Naples Yellow Light, just use Cad Yellow. And if you need more information on that particular paint color, like exchanges, where you can buy it, things you need to know, names that it has, I have a whole blog that's linked in the description and on the webpage.
That's interesting.
Do not expect you to know things you don't know. See how light that yellow is? That's a very light yellow, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's probably one of the most challenging things about being a beginner. Is it's hard to know what you don't know, so you don't know what to ask.
Exactly the hardest thing about being a beginner. I'm getting a little quinacridone magenta and a little Naples yellow and a little white together. I'm going to make sure that I've got just enough water that these will blend. And I'm going to come here.
And be all blendy, blendy.
And put in this dust of pink. I don't want too much water on my brush, which is why I have a towel, right? I need enough for it to blend, but not so much that it's dripping, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a little balance that we've got to find. That's a little bit of the art dance that we've got to work out. And that's why I kind of give this a slightly higher hoot rating in difficulty. Because you've got a little bit of this dance to do. That can be hard.
The blend is where it gets hard for folks.
Yeah, the blend is where it gets really hard for folks. Oh, there's Luna's friend Brooke. It's the weekend, so my kids' friends are calling. Oh, your children's friends, right? I'm going to get a little bit of white onto this brush again, and I'm going to come over and grab a little bit of phthalo blue. Up at the top, where I can, I'm going to blend these two seams together where they're wet.
So it's seamless?
So it's seamless.
Or, no, it doesn't have to be free from seam, just less seam.
Less seam. We've got a lot of clouds going on here, so there's some forgiveness here, guys. Right? It can be a little darker blue over here. That's okay.
And that's what folks need to do. I'm going to zoom in so they can see. You just need to have a good blend. It doesn't have to be perfect blended. And because, again, the clouds and things will help add to that. So don't think that your blend has to be this perfect, smooth, computer-generated dither from one side to the next.
No, and we've got a couple shots here to get this transition, so you're really under low pressure. I want this to be a little lighter down here above the mountain, so I'm going to bring that here. So you've got kind of a little peak of peach and yellow, and then we're going to come in and fill with our phthalo blue and titanium white. Be a little darker down here on the lake. I need more water. I'm going to get it. And it's okay that I'm going to have a bunch of snow and everything over this. That's fine. The color underneath will actually help the snow.
Is this canvas right out of the package?
Yes, this is right out of the package, and I haven't treated it in any way. Now I've rinsed my brush out, and I pulled the extra water, and I'm going to just come here and make sure that I've got a little bit of a better transition if I need to come in and...
It came from Michael's.
Yeah, it just came from Michael's.
So you guys were like, where did she come from? That's where it came from. It's just from Michael's. There's no special treatment. There's no special stuff. This is just how she does it. So you don't have to worry about gesso coats or anything. If you just follow along here, you'll get the same result.
What you see me doing here is taking a dry brush and kind of going over everything. Now this is that first kind of layer that we get in.
I'm going to
rinse all my brushes out and dry them out. All right. Now, this is something you wouldn't know in acrylic painting, right? You can work for hours getting this first layer just perfect. Or we can dry this and come back and do a second coat and shave off about an hour of our painting time.
I have a better idea. How about you talk to them, I dry it, and take a photo?
That's what I was thinking. I was going to drink coffee too. So right now, if you've got it, and look, it's not perfectly here, it's just there. You're going to dry it thoroughly, and then we're going to come back with the next layer, and that's going to help us get that much more subtle blend that you might associate with oils or other media. Acrylic paint dries really fast, and we can address that several ways as artists. We can use a medium to slow down the drying time. We can buy a product that has a longer open time. In other words, it stays wet longer. Golden Artist Colors has an open paint that's just for that. We can mist the canvas. We can add more water to the brush, keeping the paint wet longer. We can add a humidifier. We can use wet into wet blending, or we can glaze and layer over, which is what we're going to do. This next technique does shorten some of the transitional work that we have to do to get subtlety in the acrylic paint. And I think you're going to like it at home because it will help you get more complex skies where there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors in a sky and have it look a little better for you. John's drying over there. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. There are many shirts, but I have this one shirt. I got this from Torrid. I'm not sponsored by them, though they could if you work at Torrid and you'd like to sponsor a plucky YouTuber that teaches art. You know, I'm up for that. Up for that. All right. Okay. So let's talk about what we have and what we want.
Do we have?
We have a nice little keyhole kind of starting of yellow.
Is
right?
this the
and this
same
pink.
step?
No, it's New Step.
Is it a new step? We should tell them about that
New step.
New step?
If you dry it and take it over there and photograph it, baby, it's a new step.
Well, I wanted to make sure we stepped them.
Well, we've already done step 1.
So that's right. We have. So I got to push the next button.
You weren't wanting professionalism, were
you?
No,
that's not what we just make sure you
get
educated.
It's not. We're going to entertain you, and we're going to show you how to do this. We're not guaranteeing any professionalism.
It's not like it's going to be all polished and smooth like we know what we're doing.
Don't expect any of that.
We just have some buttons.
Once we have this, right, and kind of mapped, we have the underpainting that will help us get some subtleties in, and we can really even get some more glow and some more joy going. I can use a smaller brush, like this smaller 1-inch cutter, or I can use an oval mop for this next bit. And I can use this product called Gloss Glazing Liquid, which I'll put right here, right? So we've got a lot of choices. I think I'm going to go into my Gloss Glazing Liquid, and I'm going to load that up into my brush. This is an oval mop. It's a blending mop. And I'm going to get a little bit of my CAD yellow medium into it and my white. And I'm going to come over to the side here.
Whoop, not that one. This side. There you go.
Yeah. And I'm going to begin to pull in some of that more complicated yellow. That's kind of peeking through the trees, glowing. Notice that I'm using the glazing medium and that transparency is translating. And we know that if I do it up top, I should probably have some version of that on the bottom, right? Well, that's nice. Now, I've got a lot of trees and landscape here, so you're going to need to kind of account for your tree line, your landscape, some of the stuff that's going on. I'm going to get a lot more white into my brush. A little glazy medium, a little Naples yellow. Again, if you don't have the Naples yellow, you just stick with your cadmium. I'm going to come up over what will be my mountain in a minute. I know it's going to be up there. Look at that. So see how suddenly this is much more complex and it's quite thoroughly blended?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of ways to get to all the places that we're going to be. I'm going to brush up a little bit. Kind of improve that glow. I will be using a lot of white this painting. I expect to use a lot of white. And bring some of this over where I know I'm going to have the little mountain going. I can always come in and pull it in more. So once the mountain is in, but I just want to make sure I've got it. If I want to blend it out, I can get some glazy medium. I'm with my blue, and look at that.
Look at that.
Glazy medium coming with my blue.
Oh.
Blendy, blendy, blendy. It's not even hard, is it? Sometimes the technique is challenging in painting, and that's what holds you back in getting the goals and effects that you want. And sometimes it's just knowing what products to use or when to use them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to rinse out and dry off thoroughly.
You know what's funny? Is that the camera does not know how to focus on fuzzy backgrounds.
No.
So if you're like, paint a fuzzy background, the camera's like, yep, it's totally fuzzy. I don't know what to focus on here.
It's so true. I'm going to bring a little of this kind of pink up into the little sky here. Got my glazy medium in it. I am controlling my water, right? I don't want a lot of water in it. That's not going to be what I'm looking to do. I'm going to add some more white to my palette, guys, because I'm cooking through the white today.
You are.
This is my big tube of Sennelier acrylic. You guys joined me yesterday on the live stream on Instagram. You saw me demonstrate this company student brand of paint, which I think is the best one to do thick painting with.
Mm-hmm.
Impasto.
Impasto. What's that mean? I like that word.
Thick painting. Impasto means thick painting. I'm going to paint thick. I'm going to be thick. I take a little bit of my yellow, cat light, Naples yellow light into the blue. I get some white into it. Some nice transitions there. And again, if you're not perfect here, guess what? It's wonderful because you have a cloud cover to forgive your transition. It's just a great place to practice, but you won't have to be perfect at all. The downside to using the glazing medium is that it can slow the drying time down. So John will have to spend a little extra time hair drying.
Paint drying. You know, I have to say, I have spent a good portion of my adult life watching paint dry.
You know, we have now, haven't we? I think that's even new for me because I think I used to walk off on my canvas while it was having a dry, as if it was in timeout and needed to have a think.
No. See, like now I get to see it replay and time lapse it.
Gets to be kind of wonderful, doesn't it?
It's pretty interesting. You can see all the ways. I tell you what, I have learned some remarkably unexpected stuff from time lapses.
You have. I'm adding some more phthalo blue. Well, I can spend a little more time on a time lapse too than I might on a live lesson. Like, I'm not going to hold y'all here for 5 hours. 3 max. I try to keep it to those ranges if I can. I'm going to just keep kind of deepening the lake. Even though the lake is in reflection, it's going to be a little darker than what's above it, and I want to kind of keep that in mind. All right. So now, that's a pretty complicated little skyscape, isn't it? It's just 2 layers in. Again, let's talk about this.
Let's talk about it.
I'll talk about it while you do the
step.
step.
Can I dry the paint? Yeah, I'll dry the paint.
And you're going to be extra long over there drying it because the glazing liquid. Drying it. Oh, he's going to be such a long time drying it. So let's talk about gloss glazing liquid. It's been called a lot of things. You can see it on the market. It used to be GAC 800. I think I even have maybe a couple. No, I have all the new style bottles. So they keep retooling these, but what you're basically looking at is the slow drying extender for acrylic colors. Why am I telling you that it's had different names? Maybe you find it on eBay on sale. Maybe you run into it on a discount in an art store. You might see label changes, and I just don't want that to throw you as a new artist. What this does, slow drying extender for acrylic colors. Kind of a roundabout way of saying it thins the paint and lets you go longer with it. In other words, you can add as much as you want. Whenever something really says extender, what they're saying is you can add paint to this and not really stress about it, and it'll make your paint last longer. Gel mediums or extenders. Slow drying. So they used to call this to open or to, some of them are still called retarders, but I think they're all moving to slow drying. That just means it slows down the drying time of your acrylic paint. Not everything called glazing liquid is that. Sometimes it's just a glazing liquid and it's actually designed to dry super fast, and you're supposed to paint it in thin layers. So it's important to realize that on this particular product, there isn't a kind of generic brand to it. There isn't, I think maybe Floating Medium from Deco might be like a distant cousin to this. Do you guys remember Floating Medium from the Donna Dewberry show when she did the little one-stroke flowers? I think that's a similar product, but it's not quite where the Golden is, and I know I don't know if anyone's still here, but we're back.
Yes, we are back.
If you stayed, thank you so much. If you stayed, you've probably been with us over the last 7 years, and you know sometimes our live streams get hiccups in them, and then we come right back. Moderators, if you could let everybody know what's going on Facebook, because there's no way for us to reconnect with Facebook and give them the link to this so they can continue their painting. That would be super, super helpful. And thank you so much, moderators, for being here. You know, one of the reasons I'm very glad about my moderators is during moments like this, because they can help guide you guys at home know that it's going to be okay, that we either re-upload or we come back into the stream, and so you don't have to worry about it or leave. A lot of times, if you just give us about 10 minutes on any given stream, we can catch it back up. What we did was we blew a fuse. It's actually what happened. John was drying the painting, and I think maybe because the AC is on, and this, I don't know, something blew the fuse. It got overloaded. You may not have your paintings dried anymore today. So who's still with us? If you're still with us, throw up a little heart emoji.
Oh my gosh, yes. Everybody's just coming right back in the room.
Let everybody over on Facebook drop the links on the Facebook stream where we were streaming and in the event to let them know this is where we are now. Because otherwise they're going to feel like they started a painting and wasted a canvas.
But we are on another step. So we're going to give a step.
Step 3. Let's continue on. Let's paint some clouds after all that drama. That won't be at all stressful in any way.
Well, if you're watching on the replay, it'll just be seamless. It'll just go.
It'll just be like, just fine. It'll just be okay. All right. So I'm going to take a,
What are you thinking?
I'm trying to remember what I put in the materials list, but I'm going to pick this brush up because it's in my hand. I'm going to use this big hog round. And I'm going to start by putting in some cloud shapes up in here. And my cloud shapes up in here, believe it or not, are going to begin with a little of my ultramarine blue. I'm going to go ahead and get a little glazing medium and a little quinacridone magenta. And we're going to start here And remember, these kind of all come in at this angle. So in a fan around the sky. Start here on the toe. I'm going to just wiggle this around. And I'm going to use this time to calm myself down.
You know, because the world surrounds us with these stressful things that sometimes we can't control. Some things we can't control, we just are kind of dumb and plug in many things into one socket, not paying attention. Not saying that I did that or anything. But you know, these stresses come and go.
Just pulling this in here. Notice I'm just dancing this around. This is just a round brush with a hog bristle. It's just a nice scruffy brush.
It's very scruffy.
Notice that little shape that kind of goes up and down. It's all very light and airy. You can come in and get a little white into it if you want to. And even lighten some of it as it comes forward, perhaps, towards the sun. Let's just paint some clouds and feel better about the day. That's nice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The little ultramarine blue and quinacridone magenta.
All the cats came back.
The very next day?
Well, no, right after that little technical difficulty.
Really? We didn't lose everybody?
All the cats came back.
Thank you for coming back, guys. Thank you
all
for
the
coming back.
BFFs. They all. And
It's
thank you
nice
for
that
all the
YouTube
super
has the
chats.
thing where you can easily reconnect to the stream. I like that.
Yeah, thank you for all the super chat support and the star support. And Christine, thank you for asking how to buy original paintings. Check out, we occasionally do those.
We have some for sale on right now, don't we?
I don't know if any are left.
Oh, okay.
So periodically we put them up for sale on our website, theartsherpa.com. And most of the time they're studies that come from the show.
Like this will probably be up for
Yes.
sale at some point.
At some point we will probably sell that study. And we use the funds from the studies specifically to do projects in the show.
Another reason to support time lapses.
Mm-hmm.
Because that lets me do studies that we can do that to raise funds for the studio.
So we try to make sure that when we're going to sell some stuff, we have a real good idea of what we're going to use those funds for so that we don't, sort of not manage that resource appropriately, so to speak.
I've rinsed out and I've gotten some just ultramarine blue, and I want to come right about here and I want to give myself a mountain peak.
A peak?
A peak. I need a mountain peak. So
It's a
if this
peak.
is halfway in my canvas and this is the middle, I'm just off center. And I'm going to bring a little mountain peak down. I know I've got trees and everything here, so I don't have to worry too much about that. And then I'm going to come sort of down on his little saddleback. And then bring
Is that what
this
those
down
things are
here.
called?
I think so. And then, isn't it like if it looks like the back of a saddle, it's a saddleback? That's what
I
I'm
don't know.
thinking.
Maybe it's a camelback
That would be a bump.
or a zebra back.
That would still be the same thing.
But see, I guess it depends on your point of view.
I don't think so. I think it actually is a very specific little term about, mountains. But we'll see. So I'm
I
just
don't
bringing
know.
this up and down.
I'm not a
I want
mountain
it
climber.
to be, 3 inches over here. We're going to come down to about 1 inch over here. So it's a nice little slope. And that just lets me know what is above my mountain. It will also let me know where I'm going to want to have this reflection, even in the scape. And remember that this sky isn't what's reflecting here. It's the sky that's over the lake that's reflecting. So that's just something to think about as you're going along. Make sure I don't have a lot of water in my brush because that just ruins the whole thing. And I'm going to just bring some little kind of clouds down there. I like to have little clouds and big clouds and different sizes in my clouds. I really do. Come here and add some shadow. Just on the toe of the brush. It's very important to keep your shapes irregular. You can use references. You can look at your favorite sunsets and practice these skills. And that's how it's going to get easier for you. If you've been saying a lot like, clouds are not my friend, well, go make friends with them by painting them.
Seriously,
repeatedly.
They are hanging out all day waiting for someone to come talk to them.
That's right. And so maybe it's a little awkward learning the language of cloud. Maybe it takes you a minute. You know? Nothing you do can be worse than me learning French. It was not my natural skill set. But I wanted it, so I didn't give up. Well, the clouds won't give up on you any more than our French neighbors gave up on me. So, you know, just keep going.
I still think that I'm going to, not be able to get the enunciation down smooth enough.
No, you're not.
I don't think so.
No, you cannot do it. If you thought you could do it, you are wrong, my friend. And come down here. And so this cloud will kind of maybe be a little more facing here and here. I like the shapes between the clouds. I like to play with those. Those are fun for me. Now, as I come over here, I'm going to go more into the magenta. Can anyone guess why we would choose to do that? More into the magenta. The reason you would go more into the magenta on the cloud shape, let's really think about this cloud shape, make it interesting. Connect to its little friend there. Fun shape. Fun little cloud shape. So coming around here, more magenta.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we get closer to our source of light, that's going to change how warm something is. Just pushing that little brush around, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Making these little clouds. Fingers coming in. This is my favorite type to do. Just personally for my own fun. For my own sense of relaxation and recovery. I've got a really nice dock that we did this with that just was just stunning. And I've got some other good ones. And we're going to keep doing this landscape thing. Listen. After the show, in the comments, let me know what other kind of landscapes you might want to paint right now.
Oh, there was
Are you tired of fall and need seascapes? Or
there was a cityscape request.
Cityscapes?
Cityscapes.
Dude.
It's
like you don't love me, y'all.
No, I like your rainy day cityscapes.
Cityscapes are hard. That's all perspective, man. Yeah, I'll do it for you, but it's hard. Perspective of a good cityscape, that's a skill set.
It's
got a little glazy medium.
It's not like they made a request for paint a marathon of people.
Did somebody do that?
No, but I mean that would be that's probably the cruelest thing you could do is
no, because I could probably abstract that out.
100 people just abstract.
Yeah, it'd just be like shapes and kind of implied faces. I just go loose.
Yeah, because they're organic.
Huh?
Because they're organic and they could do that.
Yeah,
but do cars. That would
cars. It's now I know you really don't love me when you ask me to do cars.
Like race cars or something.
I'm going to continue to rinse this out. I'm going to dry this off because I want to control the moisture in my brush. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make some peachy clouds with my Naples yellow.
Fields of flowers.
Oh gosh, I love fields of flowers. You guys want fields of flowers?
Yes.
I'll do fields of flowers all day.
I want my front yard to be a field of flowers. So when I ran this past Cinnamon, she was fine because I think yards are kind of dumb. Except for like if you're going to use them to play in. If you have a place for kids to play, great. But your front yard, like, that's just a bunch of mowing. So I was like, could I just plant tulips across the entire front quarter acre? And she was like, can you? So just rows of flowers. I think that would be cool. Sorry. Flowers. You should paint some.
I agree. I love painting flowers. I love painting flowers.
Have you painted a VW camper van? Like a Westphalia?
Yes, but not on the show. For sale. And it like sold the like first day I put it for. It was so funny because I did it and I was like, who's going to want this? And I was like at a craft fair and like we had just opened and this guy and his girlfriend were walking by and he was doing that like,
why am I
woman
here?
Brought me to this dumb show kind of draggy walk that they do when they're like, I have to be here because I love this person, but I don't love this activity.
And then they just could not leave. It's like
he saw that and his little eyes brightened up. He's like, I want that. I want that for a house. That right there. That speaks to me. That's my heart. And they walked up with it. Good times. Good memories. Good memories. And I wonder, like, you have to wonder, like, because that was all way before YouTube. Did those people ever figure out that I'm on YouTube?
I don't know.
Does he know that he has, like, this original painting by me? I don't know. I'm going to continue here with more yellow, warming it up. I might even get into my CAD. You know, you can never. Oh, still a little more pink than that. Tough to find this color, right? This warm kind of. You want to have it, but.
It's an interesting intersection of art and commerce.
What?
Like painting cars.
Yeah.
Because a car lover will buy anything that is of their car. And so if it's good and of a car, it has value. So if it's done by someone of merit, it's doubly value.
There is some truth to this.
And go see anything BMW's art department has ever churned out.
Again, there is some truth to this. All right, back into this, and we'll
What's the guy who does the underwater paintings?
Weiland.
You know, I like Weiland, but to be honest, I kind of like when I go to the Field and Stream
Well, there's
stores.
Lawson and there's Weiland. There's like two of them that are pretty famous. Lawson's the surfer and Weiland's the ecologist.
Maybe it's Weiland I like, because I like...
Weiland is more like the natural waves, and Lawson does like space whales.
Oh, I like space whales
Hawaii.
too. No, I dig them both. But I like...
like same thing, different vibes.
I also like the freshwater folks that you find in like Field and Stream. They don't get the...
Okay, so like the duck stamp contest. Y'all want to know something I'm planning on doing? I don't know if I'm gonna share it on the channel. I probably am, just so you guys can see me go through. I plan on entering the duck stamp next year.
Duck.
You know, they had a rule for a minute that you had to include hunting gear, and I couldn't really do that. But now that rule is gone, and so it's back to just ducks and waterfowl. So I feel like it's not even like I'm morally against the hunting gear. It's like I went like, I don't think I have any idea what a shotgun or any of that equipment looks like at all.
It's like
my reference, my emotional and mental reference for it is zero. I'm like, but I have lots of references for ducks. Like ducks in my life are huge and sentimental. You have no idea. It's like my father and my childhood and all this deep, deep, deep core identity stuff. So I was like going to do the duck stamp. So do you want to do the duck stamp with me next year? Like we're going to start in January and get duck stamp.
It's like duck sauce.
All right. I'm gonna design some stuff, and you guys can help pick me when I enter. Because when you enter, you know, and there's all these rules, and I could share the process with you. It wouldn't be tutorials because it has to be original and unique. But I could share like the process. I don't expect to get through the judging at all. I just want to go.
We're going to raise awareness for the ducks.
Yeah, we're going to raise awareness for the ducks and the Forestry Service.
Cinnamon was a duck, goose girl.
I was a duck, duck, goose girl.
I mean, like she had ducks and gooses.
I did.
Geeses?
Geeses.
Terrors is I think what they're called.
No, they were my buddies.
Well, when they're in a group, I think they're called a terror.
I believe it. I'll tell you what, it got a lot harder to punish me.
It's a terror of geese. And if you've never seen a big group of geese together, then you don't know. Because they will defend property better than a pack of dogs.
I'm just doing a little finger smoothing.
I see that.
I don't have any intolerances to my paint, so that's easier for me to do. Let's call this a step. Because we did a lot for a while, and we need fresh water, and I need a fresh coffee, and all the things. And it will have dried enough where we don't have to use the hairdryer again. So we're not going to be able to use the hairdryer again, which means I have to go to another room. Okay. Well, the other strategy is if you don't have a hairdryer, or you can't use a hairdryer because your whole house shorts out, is to then paint kind of in circles and areas, like where you let one area dry while you work on another area. So there are strategies to use when a hairdryer is not an option. Thank you guys for still being here. If you still stay hung in after the power outage, and I hope everybody from Facebook, if you came in from Facebook, welcome. Thank you for finding us. I'm so glad. Where are you going? You wanna heat mine? Fresh water, heat my coffee. I'll talk to everybody. Ooh, fresh coffee. I don't mind to heat up though.
Okay, so I'm back.
I have like a half cup
step.
though. I have a half cup.
You have a half cup?
And water.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to make sure that we're on the right place.
I'm ready for the step.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Shh.
If you got the picture, I'm ready for the step. Step 4.
Step 4.
It's more.
more of
the same. So let's continue on, my friends. Let's continue on. We're gonna add some highlights and start to create some interesting little drama and space around these little areas. I'm gonna grab a little of my yellow and pink. White. I'm gonna come above my mountain here. Kind of wiggle this up and create this sort of almost like a white cloud bank, but it's like a little peachy. You like it. You're good with it. And kind of rough and irregular, making these irregular little cloud shapes. Again, it's hard. The only way to make friends with clouds is to make clouds. Right? All the clouds will always be happy. It's just trying to figure out how for you to be happy with your cloud. Clouds themselves are always happy. They're always about it. They're always happy to be there. I'm adding little white highlights to some of these and kind of brightening the tips and creating some dimensionality, one would hope.
Let's see if I can get...
Maybe get a little yellow in there.
I'm going to see if I can get you some coffee. I'll be right back. I'm over your left shoulder.
A little yellow in here. I'll back up just so that as John's over my shoulder, it's not a big deal. Oh, okay. Excellent, excellent. I'm grabbing a little yellow. Whatever you need to. I wonder if that's shortcake. I hear like a little scrabbling upstairs, so I have to assume it's shortcake. I'm going to grab a little bit of my cad yellow and some of my glazing medium. Let's really give ourselves a glaze that's going to... Okay. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. John is making me a fresh cup of coffee. It's important in your studio that you self-care, right, guys? That's important. Do you guys remember what I said about the arrow? So if it's like this, it's got to be like this. So let's make sure that we've got mirrors. It does not have to be perfect. Hopefully one of the things that you took away from Acrylic April, if you did it with me, was that things don't have to be perfect to work and be awesome. just understanding some basic concepts and principles that's going to get us through. I'm going to rinse this off. And think about this, right? So we've got to come up and add some personality, little clever personality. So I'm going to take a little of maybe my magenta and my white. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? My big struggle here on these hog brushes is to keep the moisture under control. And just some pink to the base of the clouds. This is the quinacridone magenta. I'm going to add some pink to the base of the clouds. I always wonder on these big ones, what will be better, the real-time painting that I do with you step by step, or is it going to be the time lapse? You know, or it used to be, is my study going to be better than the real-time painting? You know, or the time lapse now. Now it's the time lapse. I'm adding a little pink just to make sure that we've got some color and some interesting drama going on. A little more white here. Oh, that's so exciting. Okay, I'm gonna try that. I'm just sipping my coffee and enjoying it. Painting skies on a Saturday. Put my brush down for a second. Stretch. Seat myself. Check my back and shoulders. Good just to take a minute, isn't it?
Just take a little break. Without my coffee again. I dropped my coffee.
You would think that coffee wouldn't be calming for me, but I think it's because I have ADD that coffee actually calms me down, where it's like everything's now sort of centering and coming in. Believe it or not, most of this painting is about the sky, the trees and the snow and all that kind of going on a little more chill way, but we got to get in this drama sky just so we can enjoy what's coming next, right?
We do. With you're painting.
I'm going to get back to painting in a second. I'm drinking my coffee.
I'm in a hurry. I got my coffee.
Oh, you're making a sound effect about coffee or painting or something.
I don't know that I have enough forethought. My somewhere, I don't know, around 4th grade or something, I started getting heckled for having sound effects. All I have to say is, well, look at us now. Who gets sound effects now? Neener, neener. I get paid to make them.
And bless teachers everywhere. Poor teachers right now. Going through so much. Nurses and teachers. Really, everybody has something going on now. Even YouTubers. We all have something happening.
I came from the pre-ADHD diagnosis era, where it was just like, quit being so fidgety.
Who's visiting? Sad Twix. Sad Twix. Sad Twix once held. Oh, hi, sweetie. I love you too. You doing okay today? So we're a little better with the puppy.
The floor is still lava.
The floor is still lava.
Which is why
the puppy is still evil. In all the ways the puppy should be evil. The puppy is still evil. She's trying. Oh, I love you too, sweetie. She had a bath yesterday. A bath. Oh, little whimpers. So sad. Did she touch all your things again? She touches all your things. She eats out of your bowl. She drinks your water. Sleeps on your beds. Sheds hair. Fur. Said fur. So it's all like a little cloud.
She's all like, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille.
I think with Twix, it's just she needs to know that things are The same.
She's got batting her eyes at the camera over there. Her little eyelashes, flash, flash, flash. She got those long doggy eyelashes.
Adding this little bit of kind of warm undercoat to these clouds.
Do you have a Princeton brush near you?
The Princeton round blender?
Yeah. That's the one. Okay. You using that earlier?
Not yet, but I will.
Okay. They were asking if you could show them what it looked like. They were like, "What is that?" I was like,
It's a terrific brush. I can switch to it, actually. I got a new one here.
I'm going to use another brush now.
Well, the Princeton round blender is nice, and then I can control the water in her a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And get a little more detail oriented in the cloud. You can see, it's rather fun.
I still think that my favorite haircut that Twix has had is one I gave her.
No, that was the worst haircut that any dog has ever received in the history of dogs. She looked like she got in it with a badger and lost.
No, she had that. You should see the other guy look to her. Like, I made it out. You should see what they look like.
I think she had the mom they did bad things to me like. It was rough. John should not be allowed near the clippers. We're going to continue to warm up the underside of these clouds with a little bit of the quinacridone and Naples yellow and cad yellow. Remember, if you don't have the Naples, don't worry. You just stick with the cad or maybe a little cad yellow light. If you need to know more about that particular paint color, read the blog online. That's why we made it for you. So this is one of my favorite brushes, is the number 12 Princeton Round Blender. And it's a lot like my cloud brush, but it's very soft. So it doesn't do a scumble very well, like my cloud does, but it does a really fabulous soft blend. And it's really nice to have when you're trying to create these sort of atmospheric effects. Look at what nice atmospheric effects it creates.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I can do that. And you're like, oh, can you? And it's like, oh, yeah, I can totally do that. Look at this here. Wiggling it around, just like we were doing the big brush, right? Come in and add some little details here. Always doable.
Mm-hmm.
So I know everybody watched the Squid Game on Netflix, which I did watch. But I had to say I've been really enjoying Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha.
I have not seen either of those things.
No, you sleep for both of them. Been enjoying it. Been really liking the Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha. The girl was from one of my favorite little Korean comedies, the lead actress.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of picked this up based on that and have really enjoyed it very much. Look at that wonderful little cloud there.
It is really nice.
A little more white and just can be a little more special. You can just make these as special as you want. Nobody can stop you. I mean, they could, but how weird would they be?
That would
right?
be very weird.
How strange would they be to do that to you? I'll take a little of my cad yellow to my cad red. kind of add some orange fire to the base of the clouds, right? So cad yellow, cad red. The tips of the clouds can be more of this kind of like orange yellow or warmth. We're just putting this on the base or in the bottom. And even come down here and kind of
I don't know where you're going with that.
speak about that down on the water.
Oh yeah, down there. I was distracted by a question comment.
Oh, I can totally answer it when I'm adding orange to all the bases.
So I'm going to have to ask, maybe you know what this is. So Kendra says, I'm still going to keep asking for horsescapes, lol. And I'm like, horsescapes?
Is that landscapes with horses in them?
I don't know if that's the... I'm not a horse person.
Like a cowboy scene? Out riding on the trail? Is that what you mean? Or the horses at Calm Rouge running through the water in France?
Horses seem like particularly ornery motorcycles. I don't get along with motorcycles all that much to begin with.
They're not like ornery motorcycles. They're like skittish motorcycles. Imagine something could terrify your motorcycle and it would run away from wherever you were going.
That isn't making me feel any better about that idea.
I'm just saying, be specific. No.
I think I'm gonna stick to my 4x4s. Be like, yeah, it's all right.
But you know what the motorcycle isn't? Sorry that you fell off. The horse will sit there and be like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. It looked like it hurt.
I would say that there's far more indifference from the motorcycle, where it does seem like the horses try. Like they aim you to bushes and stuff. Like, oh, I'm done with you now. Some would argue that Harleys are the same way.
Some more glazing medium. Just to create a little kind of lakey feel to this glaze down here. Or a sort of lake reflection.
I agree with Jenna. She says, a horse is danger at both ends and uncomfortable in the middle. That's from Fleming. I'm not sure. That seems like accurate.
That seems accurate to you?
That seems correct.
Oh my gosh. So did we get it? Do we know if it's horses in landscape?
I think that just any horses on a landscape is a horsescape.
I like horses on a landscape.
So Jenna played polo for a number of years. See, I played water polo, which was much harder on the horses.
I love polo because those horses duck. They like get their head out of the way. They're like, yeah, I need to make sure that my head is not involved in this moment. I'm gonna add some of this like orange here to some of this.
See, I don't know about the horse polo game, but water polo is like organized drowning. So I can't imagine that the horsey version was any safer.
Organized drowning.
Yeah, have you ever watched a water polo match?
No, not on purpose. Not unless the channel changer was stuck and there was no way to exit.
No, it's like when you actually get to it, like water polo is one of those sports where it's like, no, it's organized drowning. Like, for real. It's like those guys, and like one of the greatest water polo players ever was this gigantic Russian
all
guy.
I'm saying is I barely watched Baywatch and it had Hasselhoffs. I'm definitely not watching
I'll say water polo's got some crazy history that's worth a
Why
Saturday
was Michael Knight? I don't know. Why he became a lifeguard? I have no idea, but I watched a lot trying to figure out why is Michael Knight here.
I don't know. I don't think Michael Knight was who they were there for. I think he was a set dressing. Who later become a dearly beloved American icon that I would never speak ill of.
Global icon.
Kind of like
global icon. Don't confuse yourself. It's a global icon. The Huff. Respect the Huff.
I mean, look, any friend of SpongeBob is a friend of mine.
We're going to add some really bright kind of yellow fire reflections here. It's got a little of the red into it. It's cad red and cad yellow, but more cad yellow. I'm going to be a lot more on the toe of the brush, just trying to kind of pick out little spaces on the clouds, perhaps.
Ooh, Marion would like you to paint a jousting match.
Oh,
I would love that too.
I know you would. Patrons.
That's a billion D hours.
That's a patron painting right there.
Just in the heraldry alone, because you can only abstract that so much, and all those little checks and stripes and things. It's a thing. I don't even paint, and I know that that's going to be a thing. Although I would love to see it happen.
I know you would. We all hope. Adding little bits of this bright yellow to kind of pull in. See how that suddenly sets the sky on fire?
It does.
When you're up close on it, it always looks wrong. When you get back, it's always pretty. So that's just something to just be aware of when you're painting and you're trying to judge or evaluate your own painting. Get back and take a look. Get some distance emotionally and physically from your work, especially if you're feeling frustrated in your creative process right now. Create a little distance between yourself and your work, physically and emotionally. Sometimes when we're in something, we're so deep in it, we can't see it for what it is. I'm not using finger blending because this is my CAD, and even though I don't have any intolerances to cadmium, I don't want to give you guys any bad habits.
Oh, you're putting them down.
In studio safety. And that's just something to be aware of, guys, is that you've got to be aware of your studio safety. Adding a little bit of yellow there. There you go. Rinse, rinse, rinse. All right. Now, a lot of white and some cad yellow. A little more delicately and wiggly, you're going to kind of pick up some of these little highlights. You see them?
Mm-hmm.
You got to love those moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I'm going to switch to my round here, guys.
Yeah.
I want a little more control of what I have going on. I could use a hog, but I'll just use my Art Sherpa number 4 round.
And there you can really see the difference.
Yeah. I don't need this to be blended right now as much as I need to have some specific control about where these little highlights would be going. This is another good reminder that clouds really are about the shape and not necessarily the exact brush.
Ah.
In my experience and my belief, there isn't a magic technique or brush that gets really anything done in painting as much as an understanding of the concept. Even in one stroke, you still have to understand the value, the shape, the form, and what's supposed to be there to create the effect. So that's why in this, we're like a little painting party and we go step by step. And in these deep dives into landscape, we're talking about concepts so that you guys can take those concepts and move that into your own painting practices. Putting a little bit of that kind of like, whoa!
It's so pretty.
Go back with some yellow. I'm just thinking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can always go back with some orange and fix a shape. You were fine. Right? You're not stuck. Okay? You're never, ever, ever stuck. This is acrylic paint. You're never stuck. You might get stuck in other paints, but this paint you'll never be stuck. What was the laugh?
So, someone asked, how come some mods have names and some have colors? We have not yet been doing channel maintenance.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
We got to generate some more accounts for the new mods and get them set up with that kind of stuff.
Now with two-factor authentication and everything, it is not fun.
It's just time consuming.
Oh my gosh.
So we got to do that.
So don't harass our mods in their private lives, please. That's a lot of why they ended up with butterflies is
separation
stuff
of work.
They wouldn't like, my mods, they love us, but they have their own painting life. They wouldn't be allowed in other groups because they were in, my mod. And they would get kind of harassed about modding decisions. So we started kind of making them private.
Luella's going to claim, I want to be the first bat color. She'll be chartreuse bat instead of purple butterfly.
I would switch animals, but then where people are going to like evaluate and go, what did they do wrong? They're bats.
It's like, no, I get to be a bat.
I know.
Don't you get it?
I know.
I want to be the Giganticus fox bat that's like almost as big as a human. It's like, yeah, I eat fruit and insects, and I'm as big as you. Bats are cool.
See me going here, just adding little highlights. I'm just trying to.
It's not actually Giganticus foxicus bat, but it's something like that. It has.
Give myself a little sky. Do you like the sky, John?
I like the sky. It's a very. If I were a bat, I would fly in that sky.
You were a bat?
If I were a bat, I would be Batty Coda, for sure.
If I were a bat, I'd be Batty Coda. Batty Coda was awesome. Ron Williams was more awesome.
Talk about delivering messages to the youth ahead of its time.
Yeah, seriously.
Fern Gully. You can go watch it today. Good. Ooh, Jeepers Creepers. That was another good movie.
That was not. That's John. That's a movie John liked. I'm not making that recommendation.
Favorite
I just
monster.
want to make it clear that is a John recommendation, not a me recommendation.
None of the other movies, just the first one. Best monster movie, really. True monster movie. Jeepers Creepers.
It's John's feeling.
Yeah.
I'm not concurring to the feeling or making the recommendation.
Just
John
that's
is.
like the only old school monster movie I can say I've seen since this maybe 80s. Really good one.
I'm very serious about my TV recommendations, so that's why I don't always let John give one. All right. So we have just one last thing to do here in the sky. All right, that's looking pretty good.
It is.
It's looking all right.
I think it looks great.
Okay. So fluid paint. I should have left some. Did I put it over here? Is that the one thing I forgot? It's the one thing I forgot. I'm going to sip my coffee, which hopefully isn't totally cold, and grab it off my tray. Because I didn't totally forget it. Shake it up.
Next to you. Are we close to a step?
No, I want to finish the lining on this, and then we'll move on to the mountain as another step.
I'm just asking.
Okay. John's going to microwave my coffee. I'm going to talk a little. Nope, we'll do it at this step. You'll microwave at this step?
How about you teach, and I'll microwave when I microwave?
Okay. All right, I don't know.
We can do that.
I'm going to put out some of my fluid white acrylic that was in the material list that you guys saw. And I'll grab, I could do my detail liner, but on a painting this big, I think I can get away with my number 4 round.
Over here. You're going to do this up here, right?
And we're going to add some little sort of silver lining. You ever hear that? You know, every cloud has a silver lining. Well, this is the silver lining, my friends. Over my left shoulder, standing back then, 'cause it's over my left shoulder. Fun to do with sky. Even live, right? Like, live is definitely its own painting thing because there's no edits. You can't evaluate. Like, you've got to be able to stand and deliver, so to speak. I always admire any of the live teachers out there when I see them because I know what they're up against. I'm friends with a lot of them. Not all of them, but I'm friends with a lot of them. And it's just, I got to tell you, it's tougher than you think. There you go. You can see I'm just coming to the underside and creating that little highlight. I'm going to stand back and kind of look at it, make sure it's going the way I want it to. Enough. Just making a little artful decisions.
Now Ken was like, what about sparkly fairies? You've done sparkly fairies.
I have done fairies. I like fairies.
You've done a lot of
them. Very much. My favorite fairies, if you look, Ken, there's one from the Big Art Quest called the Purple Fairy, and she's a fairy near a glowing mushroom. I've done a bunch of, that was actually that whole year of Big Art Quest was fairy tales, but like not regular fairy tales. Like really weird, nobody really knew them fairy tales. And that was for a couple of reasons. I think right at that time, I had a friend who was doing a fairy tale series, and I didn't want to be like up on her front porch. So I did weird fairy tales that were not being done there. And actually, that ended up being a good thing because I learned about like Oya and all these really cool Lechuza and all these real cool fairy tales that I didn't grow up with that were really fun to learn about and paint. Silkies, didn't have those. You know, I had just the traditional Disney ones, so it was really fun. And barely those because we were Jehovah's Witnesses. So it was very good. But she's my like one of my very favorite fairies. Purple fairy. My favorite mermaid was this one I did. She's like a koi. Now those are like all like 3, 4, 5, 6 part. Some of them are 8-part classes. So they got long and involved. You got to kind of be like in on it. I wish we were doing time lapses back then. That would have made it really easy to view those.
What's that?
The long ferry ones where
Oh.
we're like 8-parters. Giving you guys a look into what it is. And I think, I've got some, as we get into Thanksgiving and we get into winter, you'll see more fairies come out of me. This is that time of year I start thinking about the fae folk. So can you see how that kind of just creates that sense of bright light hitting those clouds?
Mm-hmm.
I very much like that. Having some fun with it.
Now you're using liquid white.
I'm
correct?
using the golden fluid titanium white.
Okay. So if that's something you may need to use.
You can thin your white enough to do this technique. On the live shows, I like to use the golden white because it's already pre-thinned, and then also because the pigment load on it is so heavy.
It flows very well.
Yeah, you can see it flows very well. It's almost like an ink coming off the brush, and it's just very nice. You could probably get away with Posca pen here for this, or many other things would work.
They all have their own unique thing they bring to it.
Got some undersides there, They're a little artful. I don't know. I'm going to put trees over it. I don't know why I got so artful there. Sometimes you get artful and you think, oh man, I just put a lot of work into an area. I'm going to just put trees on.
But where they peek through the trees, it'll be so nice.
Yeah.
Sandy says, I was traumatized by Jaws as a kid.
Dun,
Weren't we all?
Oh my gosh.
And Cinnamon has a story about that.
Oh, okay. Oh, you were going to cue me up for my story? So my parents couldn't get a babysitter, and they took me to Jaws, and my mom thought she could cover my eyes through the scary parts. That would have worked, but I don't know if you watched my mom's painting show. She's big knuckles, and so no. Her hands were just like watching through shutters. It was not helpful. And I was really little when I saw it. And so my fear of sharks were real. Like, they dropped me off at my grandmother's house in Lake Havasu. And this was before Lake Havasu was like the spot to be. This is like when it was like Yuma is now. And so they dropped me off in Lake Havasu with my grandmother without any warning. And at this point, I can't bathe in more than 1 inch of water. And I'm terrified of the flushing toilet, and I won't walk on blue carpet. And they just leave me there, and she's just got this kid who's like crawling the molding around the house because she had shag blue carpet, which was even more oceanic. And this was just, man, I couldn't handle anything. Like, the beach was terrifying, water was terrifying. So my parents take me to Universal Studios tour when we get to California, when they get done with their move. And my grandmother's pretty frustrated with them for having left, kid with some real trauma issues with her with no warning. And so we get to Universal Studios. We're on the ride, and it's the ride where we're going past Jaws, right? And the guys in the boat and everything. And the shark comes. I'm so scared, man. My heart's racing. I can't breathe. I just can't imagine why my parents would call this an entertainment park, right? Like, why would we go see where Jaws was? That seems like the place you wouldn't go. And I'm just white knuckling the little railing in front of me and all of that. And out comes the shark, and it clearly is animatronic. Like, it's got bolts. I can see the gears. And I realize that my whole year has been just an utter lie. That these people, and at this moment it was the tour guide in my mind, these people had ruined a year of my life. They had stolen it from me. Baths, swimming, enjoying the beach, everything. And so I got up, which I wasn't supposed to do, and I went and yelled at the tour guide. about what horrible people they were to terrorize a kid in that way over something that was clearly so fraudulent and fake. Made me fear the ocean. It was just crazy. My parents were like, she's not our child. I don't know her.
So
it's not happening.
As I'm looking at this, you lined the bottom side of the top clouds and the top side of the bottom clouds.
Mm-hmm.
You made a reflection.
Made a reflection. Is reverse.
And you didn't even have to be like perfect about it. It was just like,
yeah, it's general. I'm going to put some ripples and everything through there where it's pretty believable that it's not going to be completely sharp. And see, that just kind of creates some sense of the top and bottom. I'm waiting to hit these other clouds because I kind of hit those later after I get the mountain and everything in. We're going to have some mountain come down and some of this might get painted out. We're going to call this a step. I'm going to sip my coffee and answer a question. If there is one, I'm sure there's many questions. So many questions. Don't worry about having to dry it.
what is inspiration live?
Huh?
They're asking, why do you paint one ahead of time?
Mm-hmm.
They're asking about that.
Yeah, okay. So on these more complicated ones, if I paint a study, I find that I'm able to teach the lesson just a little better. And then also we found from painting the study that we had the extra ones if we were going to do a patron sale or something. And then also I could get around some of the bigger mistakes. And then we realized we could do time lapses again of them. And that way we give you a sneak peek of what was coming, give us some short form content, which the platform's really excited about right now, and allow us to really expand what we're offering. So like if you were to go to this video page right now, at the end, Sherpa.com, www.theartsherpa.com, and you were to go to the video tab and find this lesson, you would see a video page. And in that video page, the time lapse is there now. We'll add the timestamps later, and then when the mini book is done, you'll be able to go download a handwritten out mini book of this lesson. You know, and hopefully this will remain sustainable. I don't know if it will remain sustainable, but right now this year we've been trying to kind of do that all along. And I've been enjoying this because it helps me kind of get into the mindset. It's painted a little different big than it is small. And, you know, I can make little changes and stuff, but having it ahead of time. And the rose did really well. We did a fire rose, which we're doing tomorrow. You and me are painting it together tomorrow on a black canvas, 16 by 20 black canvas, start tomorrow. And the time lapse was really great because people could see it. And I guess it got shared around. It's doing really well. So go by and give that some love. Some people are frustrated, but I feel like it's that they don't know there's a time lapse and a live video.
Right.
Time lapse and a live video.
You get both. You don't have to just have one.
Right?
Yes, both.
Yeah. And for you guys, a lot of you were saying that you skip through these videos anyways to kind of go, what, and then start it. Now you can just watch time lapse. It has music. So that's nice. And now there's a playlist, so you could probably just throw it on when you're vacuuming. I think officially now we have an hour's worth.
Yeah.
I think we're getting to an hour's worth, or 14 minutes and 30 seconds. Why? Arbitrary. I just made up a number. 8 seemed too little and frantic, and 20 seemed too long, so I just picked one in the middle.
Huh.
You know, and it's been a thing with it. All right, we ready to go on to the next step?
I'm ready. We already stepped up.
Did we? All right.
Yep.
So now we're going to paint our little mountain in the background. That's going to be super fun. And I think I will start with my...
What you got?
I'm going to put out some more colors. I got to put out some burnt sienna. Put out some burnt sienna, some phthalo green, and some Mars black.
Ooh.
Maybe a smidge of Doc's purple where we need it. We'll see how that goes. I'll just put it over here just in case we need it.
Just in case?
Yeah, it can be a nice glaze where it's necessary. I like to have a little bit out. And let's put out some Mars black. It's the full palette on this particular painting, so all of the colors are involved. All of them.
Their appearance.
They make their appearance. This cap won't go back on. So I'm going to take a nice big round, synthetic round. This is a number 8 round. Get it wet. And I'm going to just take a little mixture of my black and ultramarine blue. And it gives me Payne's gray almost. And I'm going to come along the mountain and I'm going to add the stone. Now down here, I will paint it because the trees might show a little bit of it, but you don't have to be that specific.
Yeah.
You're just going to want something general. But over here, and Stephanie Bergeron said that, okay, so this mountain is in the Pacific Northwest, and this particular point is Artist Point at Reflection Lake. So that's why I picked it. And there's great scenes of this that you can find in fall. Lots of amazing.
Now, see, I'm not sure if this is in the same area, but Lionsgate Studios is also located up there, and Lionsgate Mountains is what it got its name for. And it's kind of funny because no matter a lot of the films and videos that were shot up there have those mountains in the background, and yet, like, so you turn around and like anybody who knows them turns like, oh yeah, look, there's the Lionsgate Mountain, and it's like, but they're supposed to be in like Montana. Like, well, nope. Look, those are the.
That's kind of like all of the supernatural that's in Canada, but supposedly in the United States.
And that's a great example of any mountain you see in Supernatural. It's probably the Lionsgates because they're shot right there in that Vancouver area, which is where those mountains are at, I think.
Pretty awesome, actually.
Only reason
in fact, my daughter played at one of the locations where they had a possessed playscape. Was her playground area, and I was like, oh my gosh, look where we are. So I'm just going to just add these like loose black shapes. So you can kind of see I bring a little bit down here, and this one kind of comes up and over. This one goes up and then circles back. You know. And again, if you want to look up that exact mountain in winter online, since I've told you what it is, I will not be mad at you.
It is a mountain.
It is a mountain. It is a known mountain. So I'm going to take a little bit of my white and mix it into that sort of like sky color, but make it a little more snow, because up front, maybe here, the snow here will sort of reflect. I add a little bit of that where maybe it's a little more reflected. And again, I've got trees here, so you can be pretty loose with the snow here, because we've got a lot of trees. The snow does not need to be perfect right there. Might come back and add a little more rock some places. Now I'm going to take a little of my blue. I'm going to add a lot of white. As I like to pop in a little bit of like pops of snow there. So yeah, it's, you know, it is snow, it is that, but snow is very rarely white, isn't it? Have a little bit deeper, darker snow here coming up. Your little yellow there. A few places. Right? Oh, nice. Go back into my blue and black. Add some little details. Some little granite that maybe has
Peeking through the snow.
peeking through the snow. This is one of those places you can do that palette knife technique, that wet into wet palette knife technique.
Be very handy.
You know, just have a little bit of a there we go. We know we've got this sort of distance scape. Maybe a little white here and there. You never know.
You never do know.
You don't. It's just the snow. This little mountain. So fun to paint a mountain. Happy little mountain. All right. That's that step.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a fun little mountain. There you
It's
go.
a super mountain.
Something to tuck back in the distance when you're going to be painting some forward trees and all of that coming forward. So you put a lot of your effort into this particular painting, like I said, into the sky. Some paintings are the dock one. I have one. I don't know if the moderators remember it from this year. It wasn't the beach wave, but it was the sunset dock, and the sky was just like a flame, a fan on fire. If you guys can find that link, it's okay if you can't. But that one is like this too, where it's like the painting is the sky. I love it when the painting is the sky. I just put paintings all day where the painting is the sky. I don't, because I feel like that would stress y'all out. And you'd be like, stop it, I don't want to paint just the sky. That's too stressful. It's a coffee step. Step 6, drink your coffee.
Drink
or
your
tea,
coffee.
or your water. Stay
or your
hydrated.
tea.
Pay attention to your back and shoulders and spine. Pay attention to how your body feels. Right? Listen to it. All right. We're going to add some landscape here. And I'm going to take a bit of my green and brown. I'm going to come along this distant shore. And I'm going to paint back. You notice I just kind of come back and kind of give us a little distant shore. Just a thought of one. Bring a little brown forward. I got a little bit of this right here, and maybe a little magenta. Kind of paint this little purple and so there's a little darks, a little magenta, a little white. It's the beginning. You can get into some altering too to cool it. Little white, little of the ultramarine blue coming forward. And you can use your fluid white if you've got fluid white out. And I'm going to have a slightly lighter value here. Can I use my hair dryer, John, without shorting out the house?
Yes.
Okay, you sure?
Yes. No.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to do it unless you're sure.
I'm pretty sure that one will be okay.
I'm going to give myself a little short.
It's on a different circuit that when all the cameras and lights are on.
All right.
So it should be okay. That's what I was saying earlier, as I plugged into the wrong circuit.
Yeah.
So,
wasn't too bad.
Yeah, that one little dedicated 15 amp breaker was like, oh no, I can take no more.
Come along here. I've got kind of like this little green forest we're going to be doing with our fan brush. Can even go darker with a little black. These are distant little trees. Little pines far away.
Are you using a wet palette today?
Yes, I'm using the Stay Masterson wet palette. Just brush upward. These are far off pines. Right? These are the distant, far away pines. Toe of the brush. Little black, little brown, little green.
Now, you're not using any open acrylics, are you?
I am not using any open acrylics, but you can, and if you're having trouble with your paint drying on you too fast, you should.
So here's the double whammy. Can you use open paints in a wet palette?
Here's what, I haven't done it, so what I would do is I would go by the Golden Artist Colors website, and they probably, if they haven't posted something about exactly that on Just Paint, I'd ask them and they will have that answer because they will have tested it.
Yeah, that's one of the places where you can call Golden Artist Colors and be like, I have this question about your paint. And if
they will answer. You'll get like a paint chemist.
And if they don't know the answer, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to take your name, number, and call you back later with an answer.
Once, because of a video that was made, I had to ask if you could use adult lubricant as a blending agent.
And they were
because a bunch of people were asking me, and I called them up and I was like, look, I don't want to say no. It feels like I'm likely, and and they said, we don't know. And they went and bought a bunch of hair gel and adult lubricant.
And they did an article about it.
Yeah, and they did a whole series of testing. Guess what? I'm going to tell you the short answer is no.
Don't put stuff not supposed to be for paint in your paint.
Yeah. There's a bunch of weird chemicals. What they came up with is like a lot of their community stopped using hair gel and that stuff because when they looked at what was in it, they're like, what is in here?
And for the other thing is like it costs as much for these other products as the dedicated one. Like, so hair gel costs as much as like GAC 100 for extending your paint.
Yeah,
so
I don't know how good of a tip that actually is, right? And so when it's like, because it came originally, a bunch of people have done it online. It originally started with this guy who did art forgeries.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, are we really going to listen to the guy that was a criminal?
And then it turns into art hacks, and it's like, yes, that's kind of interesting and clever, but you should not be using white glue in your paint.
Just don't use white glue in your paint. All right, so we've got some distant trees. We've got some that are tall. We've got some that are short. We have forward trees that are going to cover it. We just need this sort of sense of them in the background. When we pull our forward trees first,
so
let's call this a step.
Okay.
We got that in, and we get some landscape in. So we got a little canvas a little bit further forward, right? We're pulling it forward. We're getting it through. We're going to add, when we get to the water reflections, it's all going to come together in a really beautiful way. I think you're going to be surprised. Are you guys liking doing these bigger landscape paintings? If you like this, don't just leave me a comment in the live chat. Live chat. Don't leave a comment just in the live chat. Come by after the show and let me know what you're thinking of everything after the show. And it's okay to not like something that I do, and it's okay to thumbs down. That is okay. It's not okay to troll, but it is absolutely okay to have an opinion. And I'm pretty zen on knowing the difference. Aren't you?
I'm on a step. I'm going to just like, look.
I'll tell you the trick to this. A troll has just come to harass you, make you feel less than. Somebody who's come by frustrated, they have a need that you can meet. Right? An answer, a bit of feedback for which there is a response.
I'm never short of a response for people.
John is never short of a response for people. All right, we're going to get into our fan brushes, my friends.
Are you a fan of the fan?
I'm a fan of the fan. I'm going to use a hog fan here.
What makes it hoggy?
This is a number 2 Silverstone 1104 fan.
Now, it's not just wearing the regular old day-to-day schleb clothes. It's best dressed, right?
Right. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of make these little trees just a little. Look at how much a little more they're pines with my fan. Aren't they a little more like pines?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to kind of clean those up with my little fan brush.
It's very piney.
Now it's a little more piney. My little burnt sienna and phthalo green.
I can almost smell the air freshener hanging in my car.
I'm going to get a little bit of black on here almost, and so it's black and green. Let's come up here, gosh, right into our clouds. We're going to just tap down. Tap, 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 tap. Kind of a hot mess, but that's what we've got. Now, when I have that, I can come on the edge of my fan. And if you're having trouble with your fan brushes, guys, I have a whole series of fan classes. If you want your branches to be upwards, your handle needs to be up. If your branches to be down, your handle needs to be down. And then come here and kind of speak to bushes and all kinds of nonsense along the shore of this distant mountain.
It's a tree.
I'm just making little trees. That's what we're doing. Just happy little trees coming along this little edge. So we do try to make the studies from the time lapses just a little more paintable for you guys. And that's another thing. Even if it looks a little rough on the study, when I do the study, I can think about how can I make this easier for a beginner? What can I do? When I want to kind of fill in with like smaller trees, I can kind of come in like that, can't I? You can have more of a little conical tree. It doesn't have the branches going out as much. I've got choices here.
You do?
You don't know how many choices you have. I'm going to come to the edge here. I come up a bit. This one's got kind of downward branches. That one looks really nice, doesn't it? This is our tallest tree. Corner of the brush where the tree's at the top. Come down, I can get a little more aggressive.
Aggressive trees.
Aggressive they are.
You know what an
Shady
aggressive
little
tree
bit.
is? It's an ent.
It is an ent.
You know what happens when you make the trees angry?
The ent wives leave, and then the ent men are like, "Where'd our wives go?"
And then they all uproot themselves and come and shake down all those castles that you think you're awesomely hidden in.
You are not awesomely hidden in the castle from the ents. All
No.
right, so I'm going to take some of my burnt sienna, and my phthalo green, and I'm going to add some yellow and create kind of a nice little highlight here, guys.
Sort of like I feel like Ents are probably the end all be all, short of like say King Kong. It's like, you know,
King Kong's an end all be all for you?
He can throw a bus. Yeah. There's not much better than the gigantic primate. That would be the I don't think there's really anything you could beat than a giant primate. Opposable thumbs, can think, hurl a bus like a bullet. Yeah. What else you got?
Just adding a little kind of like light down here. It's not very bright. These are still very in the shade, you know, but we're kind of seeing that dimensionality. I don't want to paint out all my shadow on my trees.
No, you got to have shadows of trees.
No, you want to be able to see kind of what's going on. I'm going to take a little of my phthalo ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, and I'll grab some white.
There it is. Somebody thinks Godzilla. I'm like, nope.
Come here kind of loosely with my fan and create just some little landscape there coming up. On top of it.
Yeah, I think this is the wrong continent to put Godzilla in. You could they were like, you could put Godzilla in the background. It's like, yeah, I think this is the wrong continent for that one. I'm not sure if Godzilla wanders away from the Pacific
look at
Asia.
That. You've got a distant shore. What? I know.
I like it.
Call that a step?
Okay. I'm going to take a picture.
Go take a picture. So in this, I'm kind of building it, constructing it a little differently than what you saw in the time lapse. I am adding the mountain and the tree reflections, the reflection in the water a little bit last, so you can really see where yours are. And I made that decision because I understand when you're painting, visualizing that far into the painting completed may not be yet a skill that you have as a new artist, but being able to see it and know that it's going to come down is. So we're going to definitely try to make sure, right, that you've got that. Now we've got this nice little mountainscape, and we've got some trees in our nice little mountainscape. I'm going to put out some more titanium white. Told you I'd use a lot of white in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Might need some more cad yellow. Put out a little more just in case.
All right.
You don't have to put out paint when I'm putting out paint, guys. You put out paint when you're low on paint. Okay.
That makes sense.
Now I'm going to kind of work on my snow. I've got a number 8 Raphael Paris Classic hog bristle brush.
Ooh.
It was listed in the materials list. I'm going to come over to the ultramarine blue, purple, and a little black area on the snow. And I'm going to come here and speak a bit to the snowbank coming down.
Mm-hmm.
I like this rough brush. It allows me to dry brush, which is really nice for snow. I'm going to leave a little purple area here for some trees to grow out. I'll get a little more blue.
What's your thoughts on varnish?
It's wonderful, but it's also the area where you really have to follow instructions. You cannot mess around with your varnish, my friends.
Are all varnishes the same? Can you just
They are not the same. They are different company by company, purpose by purpose. Some of them absolutely do not belong on certain types of art. You really need to read the instructions. I have some videos on varnishing, but what I've come to understand, having been online for 7 years and having so many students,
yeah,
is that for you guys, the win or fail on this is understanding when you can varnish, if you have to varnish, and following the instructions of the varnish. Because the varnish is the least fixable problem in your painting.
Yeah. Don't varnish unless you have to.
Right. It's the most problem. Oh, needed the fresh water.
I'll get you water.
I am like
at
the stopping place without water.
All right, there's water.
So I'll monologue to them like a villain about varnish. So
Dylan, monologue like
this. Brush on varnish. I used to use gloss medium and varnish by Liquitex, and there was some drama that came out about that product about 3 years after I had released my video on it. I've never had any of the problems that people have reported at all. I've never had any problems with it, but I haven't. I mean, I've like literally painted a box with it and shipped it in the mail. Didn't have problems, but that doesn't mean that the people who reported problems didn't have the problems they reported. So I also very much like spray varnish because you don't have to worry about getting brush strokes in it, and you don't have to really struggle with those things. However, if you don't follow the instructions of the spray varnish, it's just mayhem. Just mayhem, my friends. So really, what Golden and the different archival societies have come out with is that acrylic paintings don't inherently need to be varnished if you're using quality materials. Varnishing unifies the finish of the painting. In other words, if it's shiny and matte, it'll make it all matte or all shiny. It deepens the color. If you go gloss, it's going to deepen the color, make it more saturated, like you turn up the saturation. And it does protect. It absolutely protects your painting from damage. So those are things to do. Wait a minute before you varnish. And again, follow all manufacturer's instructions and don't do it in weird weather. Or in the room your pets like best.
No.
Like if all your cats are in the room, you can't varnish there for so many reasons, but some of it is cat hair. And if it's a hurricane, you're not going to spend that time varnishing.
Yeah.
Because it will mess up your varnish. You have to have fairly temperate weather. So it's just something to know about. And as my feelings on it have changed as I've taught online for a while.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen you guys have different struggles. I'm going to darken this forward snow with a little blue and black and white. I'm going to come and kind of darken my bank on this far side. So see how I let this be light and then I come in and I darken here on this underside, and then I'm going to darken on this underside and maybe add some shadows.
Yeah.
Some dimensionality. Make sure I've got some little shadow coming up on the snow here. Trees. Bringing some shadow down. Some local color. Let's add some more trees. Same brush. Same basic brush moves. Same brush, same basic brush moves. I can't wait to see your guys' big version of these.
Mm-hmm.
I think the hardest thing about being on big canvases, again, is figuring out where to put them.
Oh, yeah. They hang well. I like them.
I'm going to get a little black into my burnt sienna and phthalo green. And I'm going to come here, find a tree. This is a fairly tall fellow. Make sure I've got a deep enough value on this little tree coming forward and bring it down. Bring it over to the side. And come here and I'm going to actually kind of pull this brush out like this and kind of create almost like a, it's not a juniper, but it's got more of that shape to it. So you can really change the shape up to your tree. Now I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to come in and get my number 4 round because I've done a lot of work, haven't I?
Yeah.
With this. So watch this. You can come in and detail out some of this tree in a way you might not see in a fan. When I come in and put the highlights on here, it's going to be a lot more noticeable as well. So that can be something to combine brushes. Just paint different types of pines. Won't really see it until we get the highlights, and we're going to need some contrast to see these trees against what's behind them. And we'll rinse out. Get a little snow. Maybe get a little purple in there. Let's pull down like a little shadow, right? Just like we might pull down a reflection, we can pull down a shadow. And then I can get a little bit of white back into my snow color. Come on this outer bankment. And add something going around those little trees. What? I know. So cool. We'll rinse out of my hog bristle, and I'm going to get back into my number 4 round. Put out a little more green. Perhaps even over towards my yellow. Come over to my yellow, 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 green and yellow. Very yellow. Because I want it light. I want it with some green. And just paint in highlights to the branches. I'm not taking away all of my shadow, right? Because that would remove my tree. We could do this with snow as well. If there was snow on these trees, there's not today. But if there were, we would highlight them with little bits of snow. We will do that this season if you want. Barns and snow and all those things. Look at that.
Wow.
Tree.
Turned out really nice.
Little friend behind him, right? Wouldn't want to leave him out. A little bit of highlight here and there where you need.
Wow.
So I had a little bit there. They were doing a thing. And you probably don't mind at all.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Little tree highlights.
Man, do we really care like why the tree's highlighted? No, we don't at all.
Because of the sunlight.
It's still very much in silhouette. These highlights aren't that bright. They're just bright enough for us to see the tree.
Mm-hmm.
We've got maybe branches that are a little more forward facing.
They face forward.
More green on this one. It's okay. So there we go. We got a little green. We got a little thing. That's doing pretty good. Come forward with our snow, right?
Mm-hmm.
A little snow here. Curve that down. Now our bank has a lot going on.
Quite a bank.
We have little trees we can put here.
Mm-hmm.
No. And so the thing is, you've got to decide at this stage if you're going to want to, what kind of brush you're going to want to use. I'm going to use a comb rather than a fan up here. And I'm probably going to use, so this is a grass comb and this is a filbert grainer, and either one of them will work. I'm going to get a bit of my black and green thinned with water. Kind of a similar thing that we do with the fan brush.
Yeah.
It's just got a little more control to it. And I can kind of come and do this. See that?
Yeah. Wow.
I won't really see what's going on until we highlight this. So we're always waiting on the little highlight. I think this time I do another little small one here. A little small embankment of them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little more water on my brush so it flows off nicer. You could also use fluid paint if you have it in other colors right here. And I'm just bringing little rough branch implications here. Rinse, rinse, rinse.
Mmm.
Just a little bit.
Looking good.
It's looking good in the neighborhood. A little more green, a little more white. Just grab a little light so we can really, really see it. A little top of the green. And don't let too much of the black go away.
Yeah.
There we go. Just little thoughtful trees. This brush too, you can kind of come in and okay. And add a little drama to it.
Mm-hmm.
You just play. This is your playground. All right.
Coming along.
It is coming along. I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and some glaze. Just make sure that under here, go back and forth. We've got a bit of a shadow cast by these little trees. See how they do?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Let's call that a step.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get on into our water.
I think that's
And
looking
why
really
not,
amazing.
right?
Yeah.
Lots of ways to get these in, lots of ways to paint them. And changing up how you paint them or the ways that you get them in really allows you to make it seem like you've got a deciduous forest. The deciduous is the correct one? Coniferous? Coniferous forest. Yeah, I think deciduous is the leaves drop, coniferous is. Not carnivorous, coniferous. The one where it's pine needles and it never goes away. The one that's pine needles and it never goes away. All right, so now we kind of know a lot, don't we, about what's happening around our lake. So I can take my hog brush.
Wait, gotta step them.
Step them.
Step them.
Step 'em.
And we gotta remember, this is far too cold of a territory for Audrey.
Audrey's not going here?
She's a carnivorous plant.
Oh.
But it's too cold here for that.
Too cold for Audrey. I do basically agree. Now, we have some reflections in the water, but they are a little, you know. They're going to be a little bit ripply. So first, let's start with the shadow coming off the shore.
All right.
So a little bit of my black and green. Pull down. And go across. Fun, huh?
Yeah.
Come along this embankment. This only works if the paint is wet, because you've got to still be able to move it. So if you go down and you let it dry, it's just going to be lines. What's working here for me is the paint staying wet long enough for me to do the little kind of defocus blend here. See how that's going?
Yeah.
If you weren't able to get the defocus blend, this would be a tough deal. And come down a little bit. Add some of that. A little bit there. Kind of working between what's in focus and what is not in focus. Playing with it. We'll also come back with our grass comb, which will help us do some nice control work as well. And get my glazing medium if necessary, because that will keep it from drying on me too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So is necessary. I don't want to take all my pink away. Right? That would not be good.
No.
I want some of that pink to peek through. So that is important. I can put it back if I lose it, but I need it there. It is a soft blend here. Where you guys will struggle is like just making sure it's soft and glazy.
Yeah.
In areas it needs to be. That's the struggle. That's the skill. Now rinse out.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of black and blue. I'm pulling across here. This is a reflection. The water's moving. We should still be able to see it.
Mm.
Even so. Rinsing out often. All right, just making sure I've got my... I'm here now. Some of these little shadows. Those are the dark little areas in the snow, right?
Mm-hmm. You're going to have to show off your pin over there. They were asking, what's the pin next to the unicorn?
Oh! There we go.
It's a pin.
It's a pin. They'll be in
pin.
some kits and stuff soon.
Yeah.
Some stuff you guys can get soon.
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 I'll be in the store. Check the store.
So we have the dark values, and we're going to want to add some of these light reflections of snow, right? Not just one kind. I like kind of light reflections of snow. So I'm going to get a little yellow and pink again. Don't mind if I smidge a little of my ultramarine blue into it, just to make it a little bit darker, because this is a reflection in water. Just pulling these little reflections along here.
Mm.
Making sure my embankment's got kind of a nice dark
Mm-hmm.
feel to it. And I'm going to call this a step because I need this to dry. I'm going to dry this over here.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back and add a little more color into it.
I think we can do that.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to dry it.
So while she's doing that, I'm going to say, you can see, right there in the bottom of the screen, those are the pins. Those are going to be available in the store here pretty soon. They're pretty cool. We got those made up for all sorts of fun stuff. Really, we just were like, we need pins. So we made pins. That was all it was. Not super complicated. We thought they were awesome. So we got a bunch made. And we'll have them in the store for patrons soon, I think. What you looking for?
Oh, let's take a picture of this.
Picture.
Call it a whoops, bye pin. Call it a step, and then we're going to keep refining these reflections. So what we want to do is in the water, much like the sky, there's just a lot to think about. What do we see? How light or dark is it? What's its form? How is it affected by light, time of day, its location? Where does this reflection belong? And then also the movement in the surface of the water. So water is a mirror, but water is a mirror that's on the move, unless it's frozen. And even then, that still impacts the reflection. So we could be good. We could do here, and that'd be okay, right? But let's take it a little bit further.
So we got to tell them it's a step then.
Step it.
Stepped up.
Step it up. Step it up. I'm going to go back into my original hog brush. Do you guys remember this one from earlier, the number 20 round?
Yeah.
All right. This is the Raphael Artigiani. Can never say its name. I'm going to grab a little of my yellow and some of my white. Make sure that just at the top of this mountain, I've got a little bit of a kind of a highlight, right?
Yeah.
I see you, Twix, but Mommy's really thinking.
Mm-hmm. Busy
Thinking. Pets. You'll have to tell me what the puppy did later. Just telling you. We'll have to work on it later. Add a little bit of this right here, and I'm just adding some more color. Maybe a little more yellow and white here. A little blue and white, a little grayed out. We've got this reflection. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh my goodness. It's been a bad day. I know.
She's all about it.
She just needs her dubs right now. It's just a hard time. New puppies make life hard. Don't they? Yes, they do. Touch our stuff. Here. Puppy break. So, while we're live, all kinds of things happen, and, the invader eats out of our food bowl and touches our toys and does all kinds of things, and everybody says how cute the invader is. So sometimes we need some reassurance. And things are okay. And they are. They're okay. Oh, you're okay. I saw the yawn. You're okay. So I've got my grainer here again. I'm going to come in and get a little of my brown and green again. Thin it with some water. So it'll come off the grainer nicely.
Yeah.
Come here and make sure that I've got some nice tree form of what I've got here.
Ah.
Kind of in the water. Not perfect, a little fuzzy, yes, but still there. Does that make sense?
Yes. Perfect sense.
Doesn't mean I won't kind of blend it. So, maybe get some yellow even into it. Something a little more detailed, perhaps. I brush slightly back and forth, just a little water reflection here and there. Just a little bit of fussy work. I know. But before we even put the water reflections in, this work makes a difference. A little darker. You know, do this, and then you add the shadow here at the lake line, and you add reflections, and it all starts to really be a thing. The stiller the water is, the sharper the reflection.
True.
But the less highlighted white reflections might be on there. So you really got to study water and observe what it does in different conditions.
Huh.
So when you paint it, even if you have a reference photo, understanding what you're seeing is a big deal. Why do you see it? Why does it look how it does?
Really nice.
The reflections in water are darker. You know, so the water is what you see, but you need it to be a little darker. I did that little line just to kind of guide myself. It may have been too structural, but I just wanted to know where my little tree was going to go. Some structural trees. You can see it's just making it a little more structural. Get a little bit of my blue. Got a Lozid glazing medium on this brush that can help me even diffuse these little reflections. That's pretty great. It's pretty wonderful. And that just gives us a little sense of things a little more, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you're trying to do is like just give yourself a little sense of things now more and more and be like, oh, do you see what happened
highlights
here and
there.
And then your mind goes, yeah, I kind of see it. I kind of see it. It's great. It's a thing. It's happening. It feels real and awesome and authentic to me, and I love it. I loved painting it. Now I feel like I got to go to this mountain even in quarantine or stuck, with travel restrictions or whatever we have going on wherever we are, right? Because things are changing by the day, But you, wherever you are, you can be here too. All right, let's call this a step. It was kind of a short step, but the rest is clouds, and then we got to do the white reflections, and we're done. We're coming to the end of the painting. Hopefully you're aware of that as you go. I like these. I'd like to hopefully convince you guys that you can paint things maybe beyond what you believe you can paint things. The trick with that is don't put heavy weighted conditional expectations on yourself. You're learning how to do a thing. The first time we ride a bike, we're not doing BMX like tricks and stuff. The first time you go into a park, you don't do parkour unless you accidentally do parkour because you fell down the steps, right? So, it takes a minute. But you're not lacking anything necessary to do this. It's in you. It's in your heart. It's in your soul. It's in your being. You are capable. And that's what I'm hoping to show you by breaking these lessons down is that you're capable. It's doable. All right, we got some clouds.
Clouds.
And I'm going to get my big hog brush that I've had this whole time. And I'm going to come into my blue and maybe get a little purple into it. And we're going to start to come here. And
these are just the reflection clouds.
Yeah, and they're not, they're kind of like loosey-goosey out of focus, and that's okay.
Oh, wait. That step should have been step 11. So I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to tell people, this is step 11.
Step 11 takes us to heaven. It's so wonderful.
Because I must have 10-stepped and didn't know it. So this would be the 11th step.
It's more than you were willing to two-step.
Man.
John was not willing to do the two-step. He just refused. It's like, not even for our grade, because we took ballroom dance as a course.
I did. No, I did. Remember I did all this? I learned all the dances.
Did you?
Yeah.
I feel like you or was it that you just commented the whole way like you were Dr. Cox? I can't remember. It felt like there was a lot of resistance.
Well, it is if music had a comic book counterpart, DC would be the country western.
Oh my gosh. Country's really good, John, and you were so wrong on this.
It only gets worse the more people
I understand
who try.
If I'm not doing a good job teaching you to paint, go ahead and thumb me down. But if it's just because John said something awful about country music, please do not blame me for what I'm not responsible. And I've tried for years to fix it. There's just nothing I can do. Just trying to represent these little clouds.
I think that Achy Breaky broke me for country western. Yeah, I think that I was like, before that I was like, okay.
You'll understand.
There's this dude who's singing this Ring of Fire. That's kind of cool. I dig that. It's like, but then they went achy breaky on me, and I was like, it's too whiny.
It's not whiny. Because don't tell it to my heart.
It's like saying Nirvana's not angsty.
Just don't think they'll understand. They are angsty, but they're good.
I didn't say that. There's some good country western music.
I need you to say it out loud so they know you know it.
Oh, no, there's quite talented people in the country western sector.
I had a friend when I was a young woman in college, and we were both very goth, but we used to really like to go to the country clubs. But not in country gear, in goth gear. And I even found like an all-black country and western outfit so I could still goth it up. Just weird things we did in our youth. So I've gotten all of that. That was my Doc's purple and my ultramarine blue, and I've just sort of wiggled that through here. And I want you guys to understand, I'm using, look at the brush here. Be observant of that. It's not perfect. Its little hairs are going everywhere. It's having a crazy moment, but I live here.
Yeah.
I live here on the brush, on the toe. That's where I am. On the toe of the brush. And then, I can come in and let's get some pink. It's kind of implying that this, is happening here. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-mm.
It is colorful. It's a painting. It's wonderful. Just enjoy ourselves. Let's just enjoy ourselves. I'm going to come back here with some lighter pinks and tone that back. Take a little bit of yellow over to my red. Rinse out.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll get into a bit of white. A little phthalo blue, perhaps. White. Now, I'm going to stop at a tree and come here because what's in front of the clouds? Trees.
Trees, yeah.
So I don't want to go, I can take a reflection across the tree, but I don't want to take a cloud across the tree. If you're wondering why I stopped and started with the clouds, that is why.
This is like the moon in front of the clouds?
Yeah, like the moon is not in front of the clouds.
It's behind them. And your trees should not be behind the clouds.
Exactly. There we go. So all we've got left is the reflection, and we can do that in the last step.
Yeah?
Yeah. You guys can really focus on the reflection, which we're going to be doing in the last step. Lots of ways to get the reflection. You can do fan brushes. They make a really good reflection. Everyone's seen the palette knives do really good reflections. They do that nice, like, sharp little edge, go, light across water. You've got just your individual detail brush where you just work it out very carefully. And of course, tools like a grainer. So, and I'm about to make myself a bigger one. I'm going to take a brush and cut it with a scissor a whole bunch of times and make my own large grainer. I think I'm going to sacrifice this brush and just grain it out. So you may see that come into a being. All right, so I've got some fluid white acrylic here, and I'm going to get my brush thoroughly rinsed out. Actually, I think I have a bigger comb, and I'll go for the bigger brush. This is a grass comb, same as a grainer, really, essentially. And I get a little bit of this sort of on the edge here. Just very carefully come along this little beach edge, this little water edge, defining that. I'm going to also get a little kind of blue. Skip along, just kind of create these little ripple effects in which wiggling back and forth. And this isn't the pure white. This is kind of the blue and white.
Now, is a grass comb and a grainer basically the same thing?
Mm-hmm. Basically the same thing. For the purposes of the technique, yeah. Okay. So that's not the pure white reflection. We don't need the pure white reflection everywhere. And then come in again, my white paint.
Ooh.
Just tapping up and down these little sparkle reflections. Like little sparkles on the water. And they tend to be level coming towards me. And then I can do these that are sort of like little ripples back and forth in white. And bring that out in kind of like a concentric little ripple as if the water has come and hit back.
Kathy would like to know, can you save paint the same way you do with oil by putting it in the freezer?
No. Especially not acrylic, because acrylic is sensitive to temperature.
It does not like the freezing.
It does not like the freezing. It's just best to do a wet palette if you can.
And it has a lot to do with the hygroscopacy at different temperatures. It sheds and picks up water and then has trouble curing. So temperature fluctuations are probably the way that you can affect your acrylic paint the most while it's in the tube. So it's best not to freeze it or let it get too hot, because it'll start to break down the chemical breakup of the stuff.
Just pulling little sky reflections. Now, I don't want them to kind of go catty corner, so I'm going to fix that one by just getting a little blue and white in there.
Level is important.
Level is important, so like where I lose my level, I will always kind of come through, and it doesn't have to be super perfect, but it has to be perfect enough to look like water. Stand back from this and see if you've got a nice little shimmery surface afoot.
Ooh, it is very shimmery.
Is it a little shimmery?
I think so.
Yeah, a little shimmery is always good. You can play with it as long as you want. It's super up to you. All right. I feel like I'm going to look at this and see if I'm happy. And if I'm happy, I'm going to give it a sign.
Yeah.
And I think, that's good work today. I think
it really
we did good
has
work
turned
today.
out beautifully.
I think we did good work today. I can sign it.
Yeah.
Find a detail brush, a monogram liner, one of the ones.
Detaily.
Something that give me a nice point. And I'll go ahead and sign in white in this particular case, just because I don't think it will pull away from the painting.
Look at that.
There we go. Good enough.
That turned out really nice.
All right. So we'll have a mini book out for this in about 7 to 10 days. If that written out instructions where each step is explained, written down, and you can watch it with a video. If that's a learning resource, those are available in 2021 as something. Every year we ask ourselves what we can do to be better teachers. What can we do? What can we add? What can we improve on? What ideas can we go back and visit again and re-examine where they were useful and improve them? So those are changes. I wish I could say they were all 7 years, but it is 2021. I think this looks really good.
This is beautiful.
Came out good. Now tomorrow, it is the Burning Rose, and easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be kind of like a rough weekend for both, but actually, and it's really going to help you break down understanding how to build and paint and do roses. So I think that's going to be super useful to you also in general. Plus, it's a rose on fire. Same bat time, same bat channel, 1 p.m. Sorry, Facebook, that we ended up getting booted. I apologize for that. I'll make sure you guys have the links so you can find the full video. And be careful out there, guys. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And I want to see you and an easel really soon. Bye-bye.